It's incredible how quickly a child's behavior changes when you paint a picture of a child who shows responsibility and reliability. They grow into that role. The way in which we speak to a child paints a picture of what they'll become. So ultimately, I believe that parents who are too lenient can lead to a lack of accountability, the inability to take on responsibility when they're older. But what I typically see with a lot of parents is there's second chance after third chance after fourth chance, and this then diminishes the respect your child's got for your judgment. And typically what then comes from that is, you're being overly lenient, and so they aren't taking accountability for the mistakes they've made. Welcome back to another Warrior Academy podcast episode. Today I'm asking the question, is your leniency diminishing your child's responsibility? Are we as parents, or is you as a parent, do you recognize this within yourself or others? Do you feel that leniency can lead to a lack of accountability and an inability to take responsibility? For me, working with lots of young people around the world, one of the things that I found with developing a child's conduct or behavior, what we call the third C, number 3 on that is conduct, which makes up a third of a child's character, is giving a child responsibility has this massive impact on improving their behavior, improving their conduct. When a child's given a responsibility, they essentially grow into the role of the person who is able to do that thing. So as an example, when a child comes to one of our classes and they have low levels of conduct, what I'll typically do is I'll look for responsibilities I can uniquely give to them. Now, we all stand in lines in the Warrior Academy class, as a typical Taekwondo class does, and so I might make that child the line leader of one class and see how they respond. And their job as a line leader is to make sure that the rest of the people in their fourth line are standing in one straight line whenever they have to. And what I then notice from doing this is it's incredible how quickly a child's behavior changes when you paint a picture for them, of a child who shows responsibility and reliability. They grow into that role. And as I always say within character development, the way in which we speak to a child paints a picture of what they'll become. Words have so much value and importance, and it's illuminating to see just what an impact they have. And so giving your child responsibility, I believe, is a massively important thing. I think that when we're too lenient with children, we strip them of that opportunity to have responsibility. And that then impacts their character development as they grow older. So ultimately, I believe that parents who are too lenient can lead to a lack of accountability and a lack of inability, or the inability to take on responsibility when they're older. If you look at it, purely within parenting, a parent can create an environment where children, they don't learn to become accountable. They do something wrong, the parent says, "Oh, don't worry about it," and then nothing happens after that time they've done something wrong, and so they feel they get away with things. And once a child builds up this belief system and habit around getting away with things, it impacts their responsibility, their level of their ability to take responsibility, or their ability to take accountability for things, the ability to take accountability for their own actions. And that then leads to issues with self-esteem and self-confidence, as well as difficulty in forming healthy relationships when they're older. When they then are told as adults that they have to take accountability for their own lives, but also for the things they do at work or at school as they get older, suddenly that's met with friction, and they can't handle it because they've had this whole life where parents have been so lenient with them, and there's never really been repercussions for the behavior or the negative behavior, shall we say, that they've displayed at home. So what can we do? What can we do as parents, to prevent that from happening? Well, there's a few things I would say. The first thing I would say is set clear boundaries and expectations for your children, and be consistent in following them. So, for example, if you've got a no screen time rule from 6 to 8 p.m. every single night, make sure you're enforcing it without making exceptions. So one of the ways that I approach that is my children know me very, very well, that if I say something's going to happen, it's going to happen. So if I say to them, this is the thing you've got to do, and they don't do it, and I correct the behavior, that is their chance gone. So there's no, second or third or fourth chances. They haven't done the right thing. I've taught them why that's important and how to do the right thing. And then if they do it again, the repercussions are that, the iPad's taken away, or the TV stopped, or we go to bed early, or whatever it is, right? But what I typically see with a lot of parents is there's second chance after third chance after fourth chance, and this then diminishes the respect your child's got for your judgment. And typically what then comes from that is, you're being overly lenient, and so they aren't taking accountability for the mistakes they've made. They know they've done something wrong, but there is the repercussion for it. And, even counting down from 3, I see so many parents counting down from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 in the hope that they never get to 1. And, there's a joke I've seen online is, what happens when it gets to 1? No one will ever know. Maybe you've seen that with parenting and raising your own kids. And what I've noticed, though, is, the way I look at it with my kids is whenever they do something wrong, that's actually an opportunity to show them the right thing and to hold them accountable to something. So it could be that, they need to do something, they're doing something dangerous, I've got to stop them doing that. They could be arguing and one of them's picked up a stick and it's about to escalate, and I'll give both the kids 3 seconds to run over to me. And if they don't do it within 3 seconds, then the game stops. I won't let them continue, right? And so I'll count down from 3, but I'll do it 3, 2, 1. And sometimes I'll do that knowing full well they're not going to get to me in time. And the result of that is that I take the thing they were enjoying away because they were doing something dangerous. And I think that it's a case of following through with things when ultimately we know that, that children are going to do things which upsets us, and they're going to do things which is dangerous and things that are out of our control. But I think that one thing that's got to be consistent is the repercussions to their actions, because if they don't learn that from us as parents, then they're going to be learning out there as an adult, and the repercussions are much more severe. So it's really important. So for me, it's that point there was setting the clear boundaries and expectations and being consistent in following them. The next thing is encouraging them to take responsibility for their own behaviors, their own behavior and mistakes. So if your child breaks a toy, have them apologize and clear out the mess. I saw a really interesting, I think it was a video or article the other day, or a grandparent who was playing with a child. The child, got really angry and broke the toy. And so the grandparent said to the child, okay, well, put the toy in the bin because it's broken now. And suddenly the child was like, well, no, I don't want to put it in the bin. I want to keep the toy. And the grandparent said, well, there's no point in keeping the toy now. You've broken it. And so took the toy off the child and put it in the bin. And, obviously the child was then more attached to the toy because a second ago they were deliberately trying to break it. And now they really regret their actions, right? They're understanding that there are consequences to their behavior and mistakes, and they regret what they did. So the grandparent then took the toy out of the bin and tried to spend the next 20, 30 minutes trying to fix the toy. And the child then had a new level of respect for their belongings, but also a new understanding for their behavior and the mistakes that, would then consequently have negative impact in their life. So that's a really interesting, I think, analogy for explaining, or story for explaining how you can encourage a child to take responsibility for their own behavior and mistakes. The next thing is providing positive reinforcement and praise when children do the right thing. So it's looking for those moments when they do something really good and not missing the moments. I've spoken before about the goals and opportunities that we have as parents to praise children when they do something good. And we often miss those because we're wrapped up in our own lives. But if your child, helps out with the kitchen without being asked, and this is the really important thing, if they're doing something without being asked, offer them words of praise and encouragement. And I think those little moments really light up a child's life, and they then want to repeat them again and again. So not missing out on those golden opportunities to provide children with positive reinforcement and praise when they do the right thing. Even better if they do the right thing without you asking, because then that's coming from themselves. It's not you telling them to do the right thing. So I hope that was useful. Did it answer the question of, is my leniency diminishing my child's responsibility? Do you feel that we as parents are being too lenient, and as a result, are we forcing our children, or does it result in our children having a lack of accountability in their life, and so they have less responsibility as they grow older? Does that then impact their conduct, their behavior? What is the influence then when they become teenagers, when they haven't learned this lesson, or they go into adulthood and they haven't learned that their actions, have impacts, and they haven't learned how to take accountability for their own mistakes or behavior? from a young age? How does that influence their adult life? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. As always, if you enjoyed this episode, then click subscribe on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, but also on iTunes and Spotify, so that you don't miss another episode. And I look forward to seeing you at the next one. Take care. I really hope you enjoyed today's Warrior Academy podcast episode. We're going to keep creating these episodes because I know that so many parents find them useful or get insights or get ideas about how to develop their child's character. But it all comes down to the 3 C's: confidence, conduct, and concentration. So if you want to get a deep insight into the levels of confidence your child has, the level of concentration they have, or the level of conduct they have, so that you can actually put a score next to it and then work towards increasing those scores like we do in the Warrior Academy, then I'd love to invite you to fill in the breakthrough area assessment. It takes about 5 minutes of your time, and you will get a personalized PDF report on your child's 3 C's. To access the breakthrough area assessment and find out your child's 3 C's score, all you need to do is go to www.breakthrougharea.com.